Ghanatube Sunye and some air costo ewo on mining aha and I was ever canning now but for snowy my science of atanasi it is some air co ever edge ever and send a matana city now we will see a quack j and send no edge aba ebusia for a bar na matwaswamo.
Well, the big headline is 103 mining licenses issued in just the first 19 days of this year. But is this just the tip of the iceberg? Joy News researcher has been analyzing the numbers, and lead data analyst here at Joy News, Isaac Kofi, joins me with details. Kofi, what do we know?
Talking about the big headline, 103, but if I take you back to memory lane, 1995 to 2025, the figure definitely is just a tip of the iceberg. 2,127 is the total number of mining licenses issued since 1995. And we've had how many presidents? 5 presidents in this period. Now, what we're going to do is to use the Ghana mining repository to actually analyze this number, that 2,127 mining lines issued under this period. Now, if you look at Jerry John Rawlings from 1995 to 2000, how many licenses did he actually issue? The number is there, 24. Out of that, over 2,000 lines, he issued 24 of them. President John Kufuor issued 14 licenses from 2001 to 2008, stretching it to, Atamils, may so rest in peace, Professor Fifi Evans Atamils, may so rest in peace, he actually issued 7 licenses, the least amongst all we've seen so far, from 2009 to 2012. John Dramani Mahama comes to the picture, and from 2012 to 2016, why 2012? Because he stepped in when Atamils, passed away. 2012 to 2016, if you look at the data, he issued 44 licenses. If you look at the data from the repository, then we come to the big number. 2,037, almost like a year. 2,037 licenses issued by or under President Akufo-Addo from, 2017.
But remember, during his campaign, he said he would regularize small-scale mining, right?
Exactly. That could be one of the reasons why we saw a number of lines. And we also know that it was this period that we saw, the hike in illegal mining activities and, irate youth also besieging mining, well-licensed mining, companies, like what happened in Obuasi, for instance. But beyond this, we come to the first 19 days of 2025. What is the picture? 103 licenses were issued. Now, out of that 103, 21 went to small-scale licenses and 8 were for prospecting. Out of that 103. Now, let's break it down to the administrations. Now, in his last 6 days,
go back to the last slide. So, if 21 small-scale, 8 prospecting,
the rest goes to the big-scale mining, right? Exactly. So, if you look at the 103, let's break it down. 102 of that really was actually issued in the last 6 days of President Akufo-Addo, between January 1 to January 6th. And then when John Dramani Mahama came to power, we've seen on the 19th of January, another license was actually issued. Beyond this as well, we know that if you look at the data from the last week of Akufo-Addo, just look at it. January 1st, it was a holiday, but 67 mining licenses, according to the repository, were actually issued. Second, 11. Then on the 3rd, we had 19. And on the 6th, 5 licenses, making 102. So in fact, if you do the math, in that 103, over 90% were issued in the last 6 days of president.
I understand that all these days were public holidays. So 2nd January was a holiday. 3rd was? Really?
In fact, according to the data, if you go to the data, you will see all the companies that these licenses actually went to. And you can count them. And we are learning that in just one day, 67 licenses were actually issued. The picture is even different, or the numbers are bigger. When you look at it in 2024, a number of licenses in a day, you could have about 180 licenses issued. But what we're learning is that in the last 6 days before President Kufuor left office, 102 licenses were issued.
Well, okay, so on a day when they do their analysis of the applications, 67 could qualify for a license, but again, it really opens a window for questioning.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just before that, 102 licenses were granted before the president, exited. Is this something we could look at transition in that period? Should you grant licenses or should you not? But a joint study by the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, has unveiled alarming findings regarding the presence of cancer-causing substances in meat singed with different fuel sources. The study, published in the journal Environmental Health Insight, has found that meat singed with tires in Ghana contain high levels of harmful chemicals called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These chemicals can increase the risk of cancer. Emmanuel Bright Kweku over our Science and Agriculture Desk has more.
Study led by Prosper Menu Abdullahi from the University of Port Harcourt tested meat singed with tires, firewood and LPG gas in Ghana's 5 largest cities: Kumasi, Accra, Koforidua, Tamale and Ho. The researchers collected 180 samples of cattle and goat meat singed using the different fuel types. They found that meat singed with tires had the highest levels of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, especially a dangerous carbon called benzopyrene.
There were some traces of this pH, which is carcinogen, very serious carcinogen. We found out that there were traces of pH even before they were singed. However, after singing, in fact, the contamination went very high. It was too much. And among these 3 fuel types, the ties that are used most often these are abattoirs, which is the Kumasi abattoir, Accra, Koforidua, Tamale, and Ho, were high. The meats which were singed with ties were very high. And these meats were much purchased because of whatever reason I mentioned earlier on. Also surprisingly, we found out that the concentrations were higher in samples that were bought from the Kumasi abattoir.
Children and older adults are more at risk from these chemicals. The study recommends using safer methods like LPG gas for singeing meat and calls for stricter rules to prevent the use of tires.
What we are encouraging is that the stakeholders should have something to do at the abattoir so that all of them would come use the LPG. In fact, there's a process that is started using the waste at the abattoir to generate gas for them. At a point in time, you stop it. So if that can be pushed, and yes, we find some traces using LPG, but that one looks far better than using the firewood and the tar.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
Ya kwaje ensem no aba obetimi eja comment comment section down me mejebre na makenkan ni na awon mo amodofo Snowy and abetina say ensem no ebrem Ghanatube so sisi ade makram.